Hi, I'm Melissa Suiso, and this is my presentation on cinematic technology. Movies are one of the most popular forms of entertainment. They've gone from black and white short films that were made near the end of the 19th century to large-scale blockbuster films like superhero movies that we watch nowadays. The medium has evolved technologically from celluloid to digital. For over 100 years, movies were traditionally shot and projected on celluloid film, and then when digital came, it changed the entire landscape. What I will be looking at in this analysis is where is modern tech taking film, and how can Christians utilize these tools. There are really more tools available for filmmakers than most people realize, and I think Christians have the opportunity to utilize these tools more effectively than they currently are now. There is currently a battle being fought in Hollywood between two formats, which is analog film, the original format, and digital filmmaking, which is the new format that's been around for about a few decades now. At one point, and even still right now, there are filmmakers who think that film is going to be completely taken over by digital, which is now the mainstream format, but celluloid is still alive, at least for the time being, because there are still directors who are pretty devoted to the medium, like Christopher Nolan, who recently shot Dunkirk almost entirely in IMAX. We can only wait and see what will happen with film and if celluloid can find a place in the industry where digital has taken over for the most part. One of the most popular technologies that's used in the film industry currently is computer animation, which became widespread during the 1990s when Pixar released Toy Story. Pixar was really the studio that ushered in 3D animation and showed how powerful it could be. One of the most popular software applications that is currently being used by animators is Autodesk Maya, which comes with a massive tool set for animators to do modeling, texturing, animation, and rigging, amongst other things. The level of detail in animation has drastically improved over the years since Toy Story, and now we have movies like How to Train Your Dragon that feature details that are comparable almost to live action in many ways. One brand new incoming technology for filmmaking is real-time CGI with game engines. This is a tool that hasn't quite reached mainstream film yet, but there are software applications like Unreal Engine and Unity that are starting to gain more popularity. And the image that's featured in this slide is actually a cinematic track that's being put together in Unreal Engine. The cool thing about using game engines for filmmaking is that it allows the ability to do real-time rendering, which saves tremendous amounts of time for filmmakers, because whereas in something like Maya, you have to re-render the entire sequence all over again if you didn't get it right the first time, and it takes a massive amount of time to do rendering that way. Virtual reality is not only a new technology that is emerging in the mainstream marketplace, but it's also another emerging tool for filmmakers. The cool thing about VR is that it places viewers directly into a three-dimensional world, and even though it's very popular in the video game industry, it's gradually emerging into mainstream filmmaking. The Lion King was almost entirely shot in virtual reality. This is a tool that could really be used widely with Christian filmmaking in many ways. Christian filmmaking hasn't really scratched the surface very well of what technology can really do for storytelling, and with VR you can basically create an entirely new world virtually in a three-dimensional environment. Theatrical exhibition is something that has shifted drastically in terms of technology that's being used to show films and project them on screen. Not only has exhibition transitioned from standard 35mm projection to digital projection, but it's also adopting large-scale formats like IMAX and Dolby. 3D has been pretty popular for a while, mostly since the release of Avatar over 10 years ago, but in more recent years it's been losing popularity, and large-scale blockbuster films are taking more advantage of the large screen that's being offered by IMAX. One interesting trend about movie theaters nowadays is that younger audiences are actually going to the theaters. These new trends that movie theaters are adopting and that they are shifting towards could mean that there's really a bigger opportunity for Christian filmmaking to kind of emerge into the theater space with better movies and better messages, and take advantage of the large screen and the younger audiences that are going to watch these movies. Home theater has existed for a little while now, since videotapes and DVDs made their way into the digital video industry, but video on demand and streaming have begun to emerge more recently. The emergence of these platforms like YouTube are giving content creators more voice in the world and an ability to gain more popularity with their content. Video on demand and streaming really represents an opportunity for biblical messages to really get out there, since theaters haven't been making as much money for those smaller films lately. Streaming is really a big opportunity for that to happen. Star Wars is an example of a major film that really transformed the modern film industry as we know it in many ways, not just in terms of its impact on pop culture, but also its impact on where the film industry is now technologically, and in terms of how stories are being told and which genres are being utilized more often for major movies on screen. George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, really challenged the technological ceiling when he made the first film back in the mid-70s. Star Wars really pushed the special effects industry and kind of ushered in the digital effects as we know it today. It's been over 40 years since the original film was released, and it still is very influential and has had a massive impact on both audiences and filmmakers today. To conclude this presentation, technological advances are continually reshaping the film medium, and some of those advances that I presented, like real-time CGI and VR, that they're going to probably reshape the medium in the future, and we're going to have to wait and see how they reshape movies and how they're made. Mainstream film is currently dominated by the science fiction fantasy genres, and they also have mythological ideas tied into those. Star Wars and the superhero movies that are being made right now are probably the biggest examples of those, and by far probably one of the most popular movies out there that are being made. Film is really a medium that's really being underused by the Christian film industry. Many Christian films that currently exist are really just drama movies, and with the science fiction fantasy genres being used widely, there's a lot of opportunity to tie in biblical themes into those genres to make really cool and interesting storylines. Digital technology has also democratized film and has opened it up to basically anyone. Anyone can really pick up a camera and shoot a short film and throw it out there on a platform like YouTube for everyone to see. With all these changes and these advances coming along, the future of film could basically allow indie filmmakers and content creators worldwide to take over an industry that's really been dominated by Hollywood for about 100 years now. Where all these changes take film and how storytelling is shaped by it, because now we're seeing little drama movies really being made for streaming services, while the major large-scale epics like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars are being made for theaters specifically. Well, thank you for watching my presentation. Have a great day.